Very good afternoon, students. Today I am going to explain you unit 4, that is fuel chemistry. Unit 4 is the fuel chemistry or chemical fuels. Fuel chemistry or chemical fuels. So first let us see the general introduction of the fuel chemistry. So everyone you know, because of the standards of living and increasing population, everyone are depending on the fossil fuels. So there is a tremendous change in the society that every people are depending on the vehicles and every people are depending on the fossil fuels. But what is mean by the fossil fuels? So we know that it will be very easy for the transportation. So everyone, we can't depend on the public transport. So everyone are having their own vehicles. So the usage of fossil fuels are increasing day by day. First let us see what is the introduction, what is the definition of the fossil fuels. Fossil fuels are nothing but the substance which are undergo combustion in the presence of oxygen is called the fossil fuels. The fuel is nothing but the substance which undergo combustion is called the fossil fuels. But when the fuels are undergo combustion, it is releasing the heat energy. That heat energy is called the calorific value. The heat energy released from the fuel is called the calorific value. So for every good fuel, the calorific value must be high. If we have the more calorific value, if any fuel is releasing more amount of heat energy, that is the good quality of the fuel. So first let us write the reaction of the combustion. What is meant by the combustion? Combustion is nothing but the reaction with oxygen. So if fuel is burning with the oxygen, combustion is nothing but burning in the presence of oxygen, that is called the combustion process. So when the fuel is reacting with oxygen or when fuel is burning with the oxygen, that is called the combustion process. So when fuel is undergo combustion, it is giving the heat energy, along with the heat energy it is giving the combustion products. So combustion products are nothing but the byproducts. So if the fuel is undergo combustion producing 100% of heat energy, there are no byproducts in the combustion reaction. If it is giving the 100% of the heat energy, there are no combustion products. But if it is giving less than 100% of the heat energy, the byproducts are forming. But we know that every fuel or any fuel can't give the 100% of the heat energy. It can give around 70 to 80% of the heat energy and remaining 20 to 30% is the combustion products. So let us see what are the combustion products. But before going to see the combustion products, every fuel is having some elements, that is carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, sulfur, nitrogen. Along with these elements, it is also containing some amount of ash, volatile matter, and also it is containing the moisture. So these are the elements present in every fuel. So what are the elements? Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, sulfur, nitrogen, ash, volatile matter and the moisture. So these elements are present in the fuel. But when it is giving the high energy, complete heat energy, there is no combustion products. But when it is giving less than 100% of heat energy, carbon is reacting with the oxygen to produce carbon dioxide and the carbon monoxide. Hydrogen is converts to the water vapor, that is H2O. Oxygen is converts to the ozone. Sulfur is converts to sulfur dioxide. Nitrogen is converts to the nitrogen dioxide. So those are the combustion products are forming in the combustion reaction. Yes. So this is the combustion process. Yes. So what is mean by the fuel? Fuel is nothing but any substance which on combustion producing the heat energy, that is called the fuel. So now let us see what are the what are the good properties, what are the good characteristics of the fuel, what are the best qualities of the fuel. So let us see what are the characteristics of the good fuel, characteristics of the good fuel, characteristics of good fuel. So how the good fuel should be? Yes, so the good fuel must be having high calorific value. I said you this is called the calorific value, heat energy is called the calorific value. So for the good quality of fuel, the calorific value must be high, and it must be easily transportable. It must be not highly inflammable, it should not be highly inflammable, and it must be having moderate ignition temperature, and it must be easily storing without any risk, and the good fuel must be having high amount of carbon content. If the carbon content is high, then only the heat energy will be more. When the carbon content is less, the calorific value also will be less. So for the good quality of the fuel, carbon content must be high, hydrogen, oxygen, sulfur, nitrogen content should be less, because these are decreasing the calorific value of the fuel. So for the good quality of the fuel, carbon content should be high and the remaining all the elements should be less. Yes, so these are the characteristics of the good fuel. So this is very important for the 2 marks question, characteristics of the good fuel. So it is important for the 2 marks question. So let us move to the next topic, that is types of the fuel. So how many types of fuel we have? So let us see in the types of fuel. Types of fuel. So now you know what is the definition of the fuel. Fuel is nothing but any substance which on combustion producing the heat energy, that is called the fuel. And there are 2 types of classification. One is based on the source and based on the availability. Sorry, based on the source, and second one is based on the physical state, not based on availability, based on the physical state. So there are 2 types of classification. One classification is based on the source and another classification is based on the physical state. Based on the source, we have 2 types of fuel. One is called the natural fuel and another one is the synthetic fuel. Natural fuel and another one is called the synthetic fuel. Natural and the synthetic fuel. Natural fuel is nothing but the fuel which is synthesized in the nature. The fuel which is synthesized in the nature is called the natural fuel. But what fuels are synthesizing in the nature? One is the crude oil. Yes, crude oil is getting from the earth crust. And another one is wood, coal and also natural gas. Yes, so these are the examples of the natural fuel. One is the crude oil, natural gas which is getting from the earth crust, and wood and also coal. Yes, so these are the examples of the natural fuel. Now let us see the synthetic fuel. Synthetic fuel is nothing but the fuel which is synthesized in the laboratory, or the fuel which is synthesizing by using the natural fuel. It is the product of the natural fuel. Synthetic fuel is synthesizing by using the natural fuel. So what are the examples of synthetic fuel? Kerosene, gasoline, petrol, diesel, LPG, CNG. Yes, so here all these are the examples of the synthetic fuel, even charcoal. So these are the examples of the synthetic fuel. So natural fuel means the fuel which is synthesized in the nature. Synthetic fuel means the fuel which is synthesizing in the laboratory by using the natural fuels. Now based on the physical state. So we know that matter is existing in the three physical state. One is solid, liquid and the gas. So same here, based on the physical state, even fuels also classifying into three types. One is called the solid fuel, liquid fuel and the gaseous fuel. So there are three types of fuel based on the physical state: solid fuel, liquid fuel and the last one is the gaseous fuel. Solid fuel is nothing but the fuel which is existing in the solid state. Liquid fuel means the fuel which is existing in the liquid state. Gaseous fuel means the fuel which is existing in the gaseous state. Example of solid fuel: wood, coal, charcoal. Example of liquid fuel: crude oil, kerosene, gasoline, diesel, petrol. Example of the gaseous fuel: natural gas, liquid petroleum gas, compressed natural gas. So these are the examples of solid fuel, liquid fuel and the gaseous fuel. So this is the introduction of the fuel chemistry. So here all these are important for the 2 marks. So whether the classification or the characteristics or the definition is important for the 2 marks question. Yes. So in our syllabus we have the topics from solid fuel and also we have the topics from liquid fuel and also topics from the gaseous fuel. The topic from solid fuel is analysis of coal, and in the liquid fuel we have refining of petroleum and cracking. In cracking we have moving the catalytic cracking and also knocking. These are the 3 topics in the liquid fuel. And in the gaseous fuel just we have the composition, that means what are the chemicals present in CNG, LPG and in the natural gas. And in gaseous fuel we have one numericals, that is Dulong's formula. Dulong's formula is the last topic in the fuel chemistry. Yes. So this is the easiest unit. We have around 5 to 6 topics in the fuel chemistry. Yes. So let us move to the next topic, that is the analysis of coal. Yes, analysis of coal. But before that, just let us recall the characteristics of the good fuel. So what are the characteristics of the good fuel? The good fuel must be easily transportable, easily available, easily storage without any risk, and it must be having high carbon content, low hydrogen, oxygen, sulfur and the nitrogen content. These are the characteristics of the good fuel. Yes. So before that, what are the elements present in the fuel? Every fuel is having carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, sulfur, nitrogen. Yes. So I said you now, the good fuel must be having carbon content high, hydrogen, oxygen, sulfur, nitrogen content should be less. Yes. That means if we know the amount of these elements, if we know the percentages of these elements in the fuel, we can say that whether the quality of the fuel is good or bad. If carbon content is high, we can say that the quality of the fuel is good. If the hydrogen content is high, we can say that the quality of the fuel is bad. Even the same elements, in the remaining elements also, if these elements are less, we can say that the quality of the fuel is good. If these elements are high, we can say that the quality of the fuel is bad. Yes. That means if we know the percentage of each and every element in the fuel, we can analyze the quality of the fuel sample. So that we are going to see in the solid fuel, that is analysis of coal. So we are analyzing the coal sample. So to assess the quality of the coal sample, to analyze the quality of the coal sample, we have 2 types of analysis. One is the proximate analysis and another one is the ultimate analysis. Yes. So what is analysis? To assess the quality, to know the quality of the fuel. But how we are knowing the quality of the fuel? By knowing the percentage of these elements in the fuel. Yes. So, what is analysis of coal? Assessing the quality of the coal sample is called the analysis of coal. So, we have the two types of analysis. One is called proximate analysis of coal and another one is the ultimate analysis of coal sample. So, let us see the first topic. So, today I am going to explain you the proximate analysis of coal sample. Proximate analysis of coal sample, it is very easy. Proximate analysis of coal. So, by using proximate analysis, we can find the percentage of carbon, percentage of moisture, percentage of volatile matter and percentage of fixed carbon in the fuel. So, we can find these 4 elements in the coal sample by using the proximate analysis. So, how much amount of carbon and how much amount of moisture, volatile matter and the fixed carbon present in the fuel. So, we can find percentage of moisture, percentage of volatile matter, sorry not percentage of carbon, percentage of ash and percentage of fixed carbon. So, we can find these 4 elements, how much amount of these quantities present in the fuel. So, what is the use of proximate analysis? We can find percentage of moisture, percentage of volatile matter, percentage of ash, percentage of fixed carbon in the fuel. Yes. So, we have the individual steps to find these elements in the fuel sample. So, in the first step we are finding the percentage of moisture. These are individual steps and the step by step process. So, percentage of moisture. To find the percentage of moisture, initially we are taking the silica crucible. This is one of the silica glass tube. At the bottom of the silica crucible we have one powder, that is the silica powder. So, we have the silica crucible like this. This is a silica crucible. So, we are taking the silica crucible. In this silica crucible, initially we are taking 1 gram of coal sample. So, how much amount of coal sample is taken in the silica crucible? We are taking around 1 gram of coal sample in the silica crucible. After taking 1 gram of coal sample, so let us assume the weight of the coal sample initially is W1. Just let us assume the weight of the coal sample is W1. Now, let us place this crucible along with the coal in the oven for 1 hour at 105 to 110 degrees centigrade. So, what we are doing? Initially we are taking the weight of the coal sample and after that this silica crucible along with 1 gram of coal sample is placing in the oven for 1 hour and maintaining the temperature 105 to 110 degrees centigrade. So, when we are maintaining this temperature, the entire moisture in the coal sample is drying. That means this moisture is drying in the oven. After 1 hour, remove from the oven and place this silica crucible in the desiccator. So, desiccator is one of the equipment which we are using for the cooling process, which is having the lid. Yes. So, immediately after taken out from the oven, just please keep it in the desiccator. This desiccator is useful to cool the silica crucible. Yes, if you cool outside, again the dust particles are going inside and again the weight will be increasing. To get the exact weight and to get the exact percentage, immediately we are placing in the desiccator for cooling. Yes, after that, just let us take the weight of the coal sample and let us assume the coal sample weight is the W2. Yes, W2 is the coal sample weight. So, obviously the W2 weight is less than the initial weight. Yes, so by doing W1 minus W2, we can get how much amount of percentage of moisture, how much amount of moisture is present in the coal sample. Yes, by doing W1 minus W2, we can calculate percentage of moisture. So, the formula of percentage of moisture is W1 minus W2, or we can write loss in weight of coal sample divided by weight of coal sample taken initially into 100. Yes, weight of coal sample taken initially into 100, that is percentage of moisture. Now, in the second step, we are finding the percentage of volatile matter. In the second step, we are finding the percentage of volatile matter. So, in the second step, we are finding the percentage of volatile matter. To find the percentage of volatile matter, the same crucible after removing the percentage of moisture. After calculating the percentage of moisture, the same crucible is keeping in the muffle furnace. So, muffle furnace is nothing but it is also one of the heating equipment. It can bear high temperature. Yes. So, we are placing the silica crucible along with the cap in the muffle furnace for 7 minutes and maintaining the temperature 900 to 975 degrees centigrade. 900 to 975 degrees centigrade and keeping it for 7 minutes. So, when you are keeping the lid, all the volatile matter is sticking to the lid, same like water vapor. How the water vapor is sticking to the lid, same like that all the water vapor or all the volatile matter is sticking to the lid. After 7 minutes, remove the silica crucible from the muffle furnace and remove the cap and place the silica crucible again in the desiccator for cooling. After cooling, take the weight of the silica crucible and from that loss of weight, obviously compared to the initial weight, the weight of the next weight will be reducing. Same like this, here also we need to take the W1 and W2. W1 is nothing but before placing in the muffle furnace and W2 is after placing in the muffle furnace. Yes. So, by doing W1 minus W2, we can find the percentage of volatile matter, and the same formula here, the percentage of volatile matter is equals to W1 minus W2 divided by weight of the coal sample taken into 100. Yes. So, this is the formula of percentage of volatile matter. So, how we are finding the percentage of volatile matter? After finding the percentage of moisture, the same silica crucible along with the cap placing in the muffle furnace for 7 minutes at 900 to 975 degrees centigrade. So, when we are keeping for 7 minutes, all the volatile matter is sticking to the lid. So, after 7 minutes, remove from the muffle furnace and without lid, place the silica crucible in the desiccator for cooling and take the weight of the silica crucible, assume that weight as the W2. So, then calculate percentage of volatile matter by using this formula W1 minus W2 divided by weight of coal sample taken into 100. Yes. So, what is the third step? In the third step, we are going to find the percentage of ash, and in the last step, we are going to find the percentage of fixed carbon. So, let us write the percentage of ash here. Percentage of ash. After finding percentage of moisture, percentage of volatile matter, the same silica crucible again placing in the muffle furnace for 30 minutes, for half an hour, for 30 minutes and maintaining the temperature 700 to 750 degrees centigrade. After removing the moisture and volatile matter, the same silica crucible is placing in the muffle furnace for 30 minutes and at 700 to 750 degrees centigrade. So, when we are maintaining this much temperature for half an hour, the entire coal sample is converted to the ash. That ash is also called as the residue. from that ash weight, we can find the percentage of ash in the whole sample. So, percentage of ash is equals to weight of ash obtained in the percentage of ash divided by weight of coal sample taken initially into 100, that is percentage of ash. Yes. So, how we are calculating percentage of ash? After percentage of moisture, percentage of volatile matter, the same silica crucible is placing in the muffle furnace for half an hour at 700 to 750 degrees centigrade. So, now the entire coal sample is converts to the ash. By using that ash weight, we can find the percentage of ash. The formula is weight of ash divided by weight of coal sample taken into 100. And the last one is percentage of fixed carbon. So, percentage of fixed carbon is nothing but from total we are removing these 3 elements. Yes. So, if you remove these 3 elements from total, we can get the percentage of fixed carbon. So, percentage of fixed carbon is equals to total minus the sum of these 3 elements. What is total in percentage? What is total? 100 is total minus percentage of moisture plus percentage of volatile matter plus percentage of ash. This is percentage of fixed carbon. Yes. So, this is the proximate analysis of coal sample. Yes. So, by using this we can find how much amount of moisture, how much amount of volatile matter and how much amount of ash and the fixed carbon present in the coal sample. Yes. So, now let us see the significance of proximate analysis. The significance of proximate analysis is for the good quality of coal sample, the percentage of moisture content should be less, percentage of volatile matter content also should be less, percentage of ash content also should be less, because these 3 are decreasing the calorific value of the coal sample. If these 3 are in more quantity, the heat energy is released in the combustion process will be less. That heat energy is also called as a calorific value. So, the calorific value will be less if these 3 contents should be more. So, for the good quality of fuel, moisture, volatile matter and ash content should be less, but the fixed carbon should be high, because the fixed carbon is increasing the calorific value of the fuel. Yes. So, in the next class, let us see the ultimate analysis of coal sample, and this is proximate analysis of coal sample. Yes. Among these 2, one is compulsory in the external examination. And thank you so much.